let's move on to this. Now, this we talked about contact tracing, right, before. So we're talking about how to deal with this. You got to have testing as far as the coronavirus. You got to have freely available testing, and people are saying you got to have contact tracing, right, Dylan?
Yeah, you need a budget to staff for human beings that are, chasing all the known infections.
So here is the Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner. And now a lot of people raise concerns about contact tracing because civil libertarians did, because of the concerns that they will now use this not just to trace the virus, but they'll give it over to the FBI and the CIA and whoever else wants to come mess with you, ICE, or whoever wants to mess with you in the government or the IRS. They're going to do it. So here is Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner John Harrington, and he says that they've already begun contact tracing arrestees. Here it is. Let's watch it.
Sort of public radio. I mean, who are these people and what's happening right now in terms of you going after them?
Yeah. John, you want to talk about that?
That guy already bailed. He's like, all right, I'm not able to sell this bullshit. Anybody else want to step up? Okay. Here we go.
As we've begun making arrests, we have begun analyzing the data of who we've arrested and begun actually doing what you would think is almost very similar to our COVID.
And police, we've been going through our arrests, and police have been trying real hard not to orgasm through the process because arresting and cracking heads is kind of our thing. All right, here we go.
It's contact tracing. Who are they associated with? What platforms are they advocating for? And we have seen things like white supremacist organizers who have posted things.
So I don't know, but if this isn't what George Orwell warned us about, I don't know what it is. Here we go.
On platforms about coming to Minnesota. We are checking to see, do the folks that we have made arrests on and that we have information, are they connected to those platforms? We have seen flyers about protests where folks have talked about they're going to get their loot on tonight. And we're checking to see, are they part of...
Well, you could just check their browser history, right? That's what you're going to do. You contact them, contact trace them, check their browser history, because the FBI can do that now because there's no Fourth Amendment in America. Here we go.
Organized criminal organization. And if so, what is that organization and how are they organized? We have been working...
Maybe it's Russia. Maybe that organization is Russia. Is that coming?
With both our state, our county, our local, and our federal partners to start looking at issues around, is this organized crime? Is this an organized cell of terror?
Hey, if I say organized organizations 5 more times, will you guys think I know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Where do these folks, where is the linkage is what we're doing. And so we are in the process right now of building that information network, building that intel effort so that we can link these folks together, figure out what the organizations that have created this, and then just understand how do we go after them legally. That is absolutely
legally. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of wiggle room when it comes to legally going after these people.
Absolutely part and parcel of our mission. We are, in fact, public safety, and we recognize...
You are, in fact, public safety. I know that's incredibly hard to believe. Hell, we're even surprised.
There are legal issues that are involved here, but we are...
There are legal issues that are involved here, but we're planning to go out those little red tape issues.
Not going to tolerate the violence and the destruction.
Hey, remember when they infringed on our civil rights back then for a little safety, and then they gave them back after the crisis was over? Me neither. So, Dylan, what do you make of this? They're now using fucking contact tracing to go after arrestees, find out what websites they're going on, who they're associating with, what nefarious groups they might be. What do you make of that?
I think it is an ongoing path of the degradation that is the inevitable continuation of the path that we're on. I just hold on to the hope that the violence of the social crisis can force the shift that the basic political system has failed to do. It's this is as great an American tragedy as any this country has experienced, quite honestly. And again, I just continue to come back to the hope that from that tragedy, that the structural shift that should have been put forth in 08, 09, that should have been put forth in all these political electoral intervals, that shift comes as a result of the social upheaval. I don't know that's that may be naive on my part. I think that it's essential to distinguish between the violence and the protests, because the violence and the looting does tremendous damage to the currency of the protests, albeit while the expression of that primal rage is logical, and I think it can be understood, and it's fueled by the psychic and economic and social abuse that you've well documented. That the only thing that comes from all that violence is more of it, as we all know.
Okay,
listen, they need to change the structure. I don't know how else to say it.
I don't either. So let's get into here's the story you sent me. So let's go ahead and let's cover this story. There's the CARES Act. But let me just, by the way, that there is nothing that I won't put past the government right now. So we found out in my lifetime that the government lied us into a war in Iraq, knowingly killed hundreds of thousands of people for what? For profit for corporations. And then they ordered a torture program, a literal torture program, to cover it up. And everybody in Congress was complicit, meaning Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. And then Barack Obama didn't prosecute any of those people, nor any of the criminal bankers, but he did kick 5.1 million people out of their house. And he didn't take marijuana off the Schedule I drug. So our prisons are still packed to the gills. So there's just nothing I'll put past the government right now. There's nothing too crazy that someone could posit that the government is nefarious shit that they're up to that I wouldn't agree. Yeah, they're up. So this contact tracing, it immediately they use it to oppress you, like George Orwell. Immediately, contact tracing is used to take away your civil liberties. Immediately, it's used in the most disgusting, depraved way by the establishment and the police force. Immediately. And no one in the media questions it. No one. Because the media is owned by the same people who wants that contact tracing. The media is owned by the same people and serve the same people who want to keep prison labor. So that's why we're here. And guess what? Google is doing everything they can to suppress us. Every video we make about this crisis is demonetized. Every video we make is suppressed, is deranked. Every video we make is demonetized. And that is an overt way of them to try to suppress us. And it's just, and if it gets any worse, I'm betting it won't be long before Google just outright bans these videos. Because they have no trouble banning stuff. They like it, by the way. They like banning stuff. They like controlling the flow of information. That's what Google does. 70% of the country gets all of their news information from Google or Facebook. And they're controlling people like me. Facebook gets to delete what I put up. They get to put bogus fact checks on there from guys who are liars working for the CIA. That this is the world we're living in right now. This has all happened to me. This is not something I'm making up. This has already happened. And so this contact tracing, now you understand why people don't want to get a vaccine when the government tells them they got to have it. Now you understand why people are suspicious of the government. Because guess what? The elites and the establishment have lost all legitimacy. They've lost all legitimacy. Bill de Blasio, Nancy Pelosi, Donald Trump, they've lost all legitimacy. And the media, you know why they attack CNN? Because the CNN is an oppressor. They're an extension of this capitalist state that's been oppressing, that has had their boot on the neck of every motherfucker in this country since 1980. That's why CNN got attacked. Too bad MSNBC and ABC and CBS and the New York Times all don't have headquarters right next to each other. And now we're going to have a less healthy society because people aren't going to want to be contact traced, and we're never going to be able to fucking fix this virus because the cocksucking oligarchs are fascists. Our government is now fascists. We've gone from rapacious oligarchy to fucking fascists. And so now we're not going to be able to fix this virus because goddamn a quarter of the country won't get the fucking vaccine when it's available because of what the goddamn cops are doing right now. And Google doesn't want you to hear me say this. The most powerful fucking company in the world doesn't want you to hear me say this. So I'm going to say it until they shut me down. So now what are we supposed to do, Dylan, with contact tracing now that they're immediately using it for nefarious purposes?
I mean, again, we have to direct our attention to the things that we want and to the things that we want to create. And those things are UBI, Medicare for all, prison reform, police reform. I don't know that our power to stop the never-ending list of degradations will begin until there is momentum to create that which we want. And I think that the opportunity, the organizing opportunity with these protests, not with the looting and not with the riots, which are very counterproductive ultimately. Just really bad. But those protests are, are an opportunity for grace for an otherwise troubled nation with a brutally degrading corporate and political culture. I'm not trying to go preacher man on you today, Jimmy, but we're in the dark tar of the soul here, and it's extreme. It's the most dangerous place that exists in this world. It's where murder lives and everything else that's swirling around us. And there must be grace, and there must be grace that comes through a true shift. Otherwise, it gets worse.
I know.
For sure.
I know. There is one bright spot. There's been I've heard talk that for Veterans for Peace tweeted out that we are hearing from people who are refusing orders. So as Trump is ordering the military to occupy our own country, exactly shit we did to Iraq, exactly what we did to Afghanistan, exactly what we did to Libya, exactly what we're trying to do all over the goddamn world. We're doing now to ourselves. And now Veterans for Peace is tweeting out that they're hearing that. And so where is Colin Powell telling people in the military it's your duty to disobey an unconstitutional order? So anyway, we have no leaders in America. This is what capitalism does. It's able to buy off your leaders. And it's able to buy off even your civic organizations that are created specifically to fight against government oppression. The government comes and gives them money and buys them off. So that's the one bright spot. Veterans for Peace. We're hearing from people, and then I saw a tweet today of a cop who quit because he won't do that. But believe me, that there won't be many cops quitting because the cops who would quit over this already have years ago. That's the thing. So we've talked about it's not good cops, bad cops, or a few bad apples, it's a complete culture of policing in America. And you either succumb to that culture of brutality and lawlessness, or you leave, or they kill you, like they tried to do at Serpico. That hasn't changed from Serpico's time. There's a movie, go watch it. It's called Serpico, starring Al Pacino. Well, that guy's still alive. They shot him in the face. And he wrote an article in 2016. It's in Politico. It says policing's worse now than when he got shot in the face by his own cops. So if there's a good cop, they kill him, or you weed him out, or they quit. So don't look for cops to be quitting, but you can look for the military people to not answer this bullshit call. So that's my fingers crossed on that. Hey, this is the part where I tell you where our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then I would tell you to go join our premium, but nobody has a fucking job. So why don't you just enjoy the video?